Should former British Prime Minister Tony Blair have been knighted? That's the debate currently raging in the UK, and a petition calling for Blair's knighthood to be rescinded has gathered, at the time that I make this video, nearly 1 million signatures, an unprecedented criticism of a former Prime Minister by the British people. And all the more ironic since Blair was, on his election in 1997, probably the most popular Prime Minister since Margaret Thatcher, but like Thatcher, ended his premiership one of the most divisive and unpopular. One point that has been raised by a few media pundits is the fact that all British Prime Ministers since World War II have been knighted, which is partially true. The question in many people's minds is why Blair's elevation took so long, considering he left office in 2007. The answer may be Blair's enduring unpopularity. Blair has been made a Knight Companion of the most noble Order of the Garter, the oldest and most exclusive order of chivalry in Britain, limited to just 26 knights and ladies at any one time, excluding royal knights. It is in the personal gift of the sovereign, and not, as with most other British honours, given out by the government. There really is no higher honour for a British subject than admission to the Order of the Garter. Founded by King Edward III in 1348, and in continuous use for 674 years. The name of the order derives from an embroidered garter worn by knights on ceremonial occasions in addition to the sash and breast star. For non-British viewers, and for many UK viewers who don't know, Britain has many orders of chivalry, the highest grades carrying the titles Sir or Dame. The next in line is the Order of the Thistle, the Garter equivalent for Scotland, dating from 1687 and limited to only 16 members. Next down is the Order of the Bath, created in 1725 and given out to senior civil servants and military officers. It comes in 3 grades: Companion, Knight or Dame Commander, and Knight or Dame Commander Grand Cross. Next down is the Order of St. Michael and St. George, founded in 1818, and used to honour diplomats and other similar posts. It's divided into 3 grades, Companion and 2 levels of knighthood, Knight or Dame Commander and Knight or Dame Grand Cross. Below that is the Royal Victorian Order, the other chivalric order apart from the Order of the Garter, awarded by the Queen alone and not by the government. This is given to people who have worked for the monarch or for royal interests, particularly charities. Founded in 1896 by Queen Victoria, it comprises 5 classes: Member, Lieutenant and Commander, and then above that 2 classes of knighthood, Knight or Dame Commander and Knight or Dame Grand Cross. The one order of chivalry that most people are familiar with is the Order of the British Empire, the catch-all order that rewards people from all walks of life in the arts, sciences, military, charities, welfare and public services. Established in 1917 during World War I by King George V, it comprises 6 classes. From bottom to top, the British Empire Medal, Member of the Order of the British Empire, MBE, Officer, OBE, Commander, CBE, and 2 classes that confer knighthood at the top, Knight or Dame Commander and Knight or Dame Grand Cross. But incredibly, there are still 2 more ways you can be a Sir in the UK today. A Knight Bachelor is a man knighted by the Queen who doesn't belong to any of the chivalric orders. This is particularly popular for celebrities, famous actors and musicians, and also for judges and scientists and many others who've received this award. Finally, there is an hereditary title called a baronet, the very bottom rung of the aristocracy. About 1,200 baronetcies exist in the UK today, but no new ones have been created since Margaret Thatcher's husband Denis received one after she left office. A baronetcy is passed down from father to son, and so on. So, being that there are all these other levels of knighthood in consideration, why did Blair receive the very highest, the Order of the Garter? One word: tradition. It has been the tradition since World War II for former Prime Ministers to become Knights of the Garter. If we move back in time from Blair, John Major received this honour in 2005, Thatcher in 1995, before that the Labour Prime Minister James Callaghan in 1987, the Labour Prime Minister Harold Wilson, the Conservative Prime Minister Edward Heath, before that Sir Alec Douglas-Home, who became a Knight of the Order of the Thistle, as he was Scottish, something Blair would have been eligible for instead of the Garter. Douglas-Home's predecessor as Prime Minister, Harold Macmillan, wasn't knighted. It is suspected that he actually rejected a knighthood, but later did receive a peerage, becoming the first Earl of Stockton. In fact, it used to be the tradition that former Prime Ministers became aristocrats on leaving office, receiving an hereditary peerage as an Earl, the title passing to their elder son and so on. Previous Prime Minister Anthony Eden, who was also a Knight of the Order of the Garter, was made the first Earl of Avon after he stopped being Prime Minister. And wartime Labour Prime Minister Clement Attlee, also a Knight of the Garter, became the first Earl Attlee. As well as former Prime Ministers, many important military figures received hereditary peerages, particularly after World War II. For example, Viscount Montgomery of Alamein, and Earl Mountbatten of Burma. In 1946, the present Queen's father, King George VI, offered to make Winston Churchill both a Knight of the Garter and also Duke of Dover, but he turned down both, later accepting the knighthood, but then turned down the Queen's 1955 offer to make him Duke of London. He rejected both of the dukedoms because he didn't want to jeopardize his son and grandson's political careers as members of the House of Commons, as peers are not allowed to sit in the House of Commons. Peerages for former Prime Ministers have largely lapsed. The last was awarded to Thatcher in 1992 when she was made a life peer with the rank of Baroness. A life peerage dies with the holder and cannot be inherited by the children, therefore ensuring that the aristocracy does not grow in size. Tony Blair's involvement of Britain in two very unpopular wars in Afghanistan and Iraq appeared to be the main reason driving along the petition to strip him of his knighthood. But Britain has a long history of honouring war leaders, and not all of them of the calibre of Winston Churchill, and not all of them British. The Order of the Garter has been handed out to foreign leaders of countries that we ended up actually at war with. For example, Britain knighted the major war leaders of World War I and World War II on the opposite side. Kaiser Wilhelm II, the Emperor of Germany, became a Knight of the Garter in 1877, as did Emperor Franz Joseph of Austria-Hungary in 1867. Both of these men were stripped of their knighthoods in 1915 by King George V during World War I for obvious reasons. In World War II, the British monarchy had to strip two enemy war leaders of their Orders of the Garter. King Victor Emmanuel III of Italy had his rescinded in 1941, alongside Emperor Hirohito of Japan. Incredibly, Hirohito's knighthood was restored to him by the Queen in 1971, and apparently he was very pleased by this. Less pleased were the British veterans of Japanese prisoner-of-war camps, who turned their backs on Hirohito as he rode down the Mall in central London in a carriage with the Queen during his 1971 state visit to Britain. Britain is a country where traditions endure. But the upsurge of popular outrage against Tony Blair's knighthood perhaps signals that change is necessary. For is it right that former Prime Ministers should receive the nation's highest honour automatically, regardless of what they did while in office? Surely it should reward excellence rather than simply time served. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, and also visit my audiobook channel, War Stories with Mark Felton. You can also help to support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the description box below.